Carrying heavy shopping bags on either sides, Ina walked home, feeling very exhausted. It is a Sunday, yet instead of resting at home like many others, she had been busy all day. Ina works at a company from Monday to Saturday, and Sundays are her only days off. But even on her day off, she couldn't get enough rest. This is the second time she has gone to the market today. She had gone earlier in the morning and bought what she believed would be enough for a few days. She prepared lunch, hoping it would last until supper. But her roommate, Lillian, had some friends over, and they finished everything. Ina was so disappointed. Lillian and her friends just watched movie after movie and didn't help her with any chores. Yet they ate everything, even the snacks Ina had stocked. To make matters worse, they left the dirty dishes for her to wash. This has been going on for weeks now, but Ina couldn't bring herself to complain. Lillian and Ina had been friends since college. Lillian comes from a humble background, and her parents don't have much. When Lillian couldn't pay her rent for months, Ina invited her to move in so that they could split living expenses, since Ina herself relies on her aunt who didn't make life any easier for her, especially in the beginning. They had been living well for a long time. Ina doesn't have any close friends apart from Lillian, but Lillian has so many friends. Ina is close with a guy called Derek, who rents an apartment close to hers. Derek is a simple young man who, like Ina, has a small circle of friends. He was a junior to Ina in college, but somehow he has many connections. One day, when Ina mentioned to him that she and Lillian were looking for companies to do their internship, he easily helped them secure a spot in a very big company. So Ina, Lillian, and Jane managed to work at one of the main branches of Holker Enterprises in the city. Ina was so grateful to Derek and promised to give her all to her role. The girls continued their internships at Holker Enterprises throughout their course until their graduation. After graduation, it was time to look for real jobs. Luckily for Ina and Jane, Holker Enterprises invited them to join their staff, offering them jobs. But Lillian was never invited back. Ina felt sorry for Lillian. It has been months, and instead of going out to look for a job, Lillian just stayed indoors, complaining about why she wasn't called back by the company. Lillian's parents stopped sending support after her graduation, hoping she would go out and look for a job, but she never did. She just fully depends on Ina, staying home, watching movies, eating, and sometimes going out with her friends, leaving Ina to struggle with all the bills and chores. Ina is getting tired of Lillian's behavior, but whenever she mentions job hunting, Lillian would tell a sob story about how all she has ever wanted is to work for Holker Enterprises. Today, Lillian brought her friends over, as usual, and they were making so much noise in their small apartment that Ina was unable to get any rest after lunch. Even after she managed to briefly fall asleep, Lillian woke her up to inform her that there was nothing in the house for dinner. So that's how she ended up going to the market a second time that evening. Ina was so tired and agitated. She had to go back to work early tomorrow morning, and now, instead of relaxing, she had to prepare dinner and do dishes. When Ina got back home, she found Lillian and Jane inside. It seemed like the other girls had stepped out briefly, since their bags were still there. Lillian came to help Ina with the shopping bags and asked her to sit down, expressing concern for how tired she must be. Lillian really looked and acted like a concerned friend. "It's okay, I'm fine, thank you," Ina said, accepting the cup of water Lillian offered her. "Ina, I have something to tell you. I don't know if this is the right time, but I feel like I should tell you, Lillian said, looking down helplessly. Tell her, Lillian. She deserves to know, Jane added. What's going on? What do you have to tell me? Ina asked, noticing the serious looks on their faces. It's that stupid hooligan I've been telling you about. I know you asked me to ignore him, but he just keeps getting worse, Lillian explained with a pained expression. Ina knows what she is talking about. For weeks now, Lillian had been telling her about a young man who keeps trying to get information about her from Lillian. Ina didn't want to deal with it. She didn't think it's a major issue. After all, there are so many boys in the school district, and many had the habit of stalking girls in different ways. She usually just asks Lillian to ignore him and stop talking to him. But seeing Lillian's expression today, Ina felt this matter was more serious than she had thought. Lillian, tell me, what did he say this time? She urged. Ina, I am so scared, Lillian cried. Tell me, what did he do to you, Lillian? Ina insisted, now getting scared too. When I was coming home last evening, he suddenly stopped me. He came out of nowhere like usual, and he had some friends with him too. They surrounded me. I was so scared, Ina. I had nowhere to run, Lillian cried. What? What did they do to you, Lillian? Tell me, Ina frantically asked. He warned me. He told me that if I don't bring what he has been asking for in 24 hours, he'd have his boys beat me up to death after doing all sorts of things to me, Lillian narrated and broke down in tears. Ina was so confused. Lillian was fine last night. She had been having fun with her friends throughout the day. How could she suddenly be so affected by a threat made yesterday? And a serious one at that. This is serious, Lillian. Why didn't you tell me immediately after it happened? We could have thought of something together. Besides, you looked so normal the whole day. What changed? I was just trying to distract myself, Ina. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to make you worry. You are already doing so much for me as it is. Besides, you told me not to talk about him, Lillian explained. Ina acknowledged that she was right. She had indeed told Lillian not to mention anything about that weird man. Lillian then explained to Ina that she had hoped the threat was empty, but she had just received another threatening message from him. Jane then handed Lillian's phone to Ina to show her the message. Send over my things, otherwise just flee this country, because you will not like what I do to you once I catch you. You have 2 hours to go. Ina read it aloud. Ina, I don't have anywhere to go. You know I don't have any money. I can't go back to my parents in the village empty-handed. What can I do? Please help me, Ina, Lillian begged. My goodness, what is wrong with this fool? Tell me, Lillian, what does he want you to send him? What is he asking for in this message? Ina inquired. My goodness, Ina, he's asking for something I can never give him. I'd rather he kill me. I can't do it, Lillian said, shaking her head in despair. What is it? Tell me. Come on, Ina urged. Lillian sniffed and wiped her tears, trying to regain her composure. For weeks now, he has been forcing me to take and send him nude pictures of you, Ina, she cried. What? Nude pictures of me? Are you sure? Ina exclaimed. Why would I lie about something like this? I don't know what to do. Please, Ina, help me, Lillian cried even louder. Where is that idiot? Take me to him right now. Let me face him directly, Ina fumed. No, please, I'm scared he will do something to you. Don't go, Lillian pleaded. Okay, fine. Let's go to the police station and open a case against him right now, Ina suggested. We can't do that. We don't have enough evidence. This message is anonymous, Jane argued. Okay then, we don't have any other option. I have to do something about this. We'll still need to inform the authorities though. This is a serious matter. But for now, I need to talk to him myself, since this is clearly about me. Fine, if you have to go, please don't mention me at all. He can't know I told you about this, Lillian suggested, confusing Ina. Lillian, he will obviously know you told me about it. You're clearly the one he has been bothering about this, right? Even so, Ina, I don't want to add fuel to the fire. Just don't mention my name, please. In fact, don't mention that someone told you about this. I am begging you. He scares me. Lillian begged. Fine, fine. Just show me this idiot. Where can I find him? Take me there, Ina said, standing up with so much anger. She had been feeling agitated since morning and was so angry at no one in particular. Now this man shows up and she desperately needs to vent. In her haste, she missed the satisfied looks on Lillian and Jane's faces. If only she knew what they had planned for her. Meanwhile, Kodra, a handsome young man, was driving home after dropping off his brother at the airport. He was on his way back to the North Estates when he received a call from an unknown number. Hello? Good evening, sir. Are you Derek's brother? Came in a lady's voice. Who is this? He asked directly and firmly, yet sounding uninterested. I'm Gloria, Derek's friend and classmate. Are you still with him? His phone isn't going through, Gloria stuttered. Kodra has a strong effect on people. His voice alone is intimidating. What do you want? He demanded. Gloria explained that Derek had asked her to call this number in case of anything. She said he had asked her to clean his house for him and had entrusted her with his keys. However, something has come up and she has to travel far away. She didn't want to take the keys with her and didn't know whom to leave them with, as Derek had specifically entrusted them to her, and there are many valuables in the house, so she did not want to leave the key with any random person. Like a concerned brother, Kodra asked where he could find her, and Gloria suggested a time and place. That evening, Kodra drove to the school district where his brother had been living. He didn't understand why Derek chose to live among commoners and study at a local university when he could have gone abroad to the best universities in the world. At least Derek agreed to go abroad for his internship, but he would be back to finish his studies and would likely still prefer to live near his college, here in the school district. Kodra knows how much Derek loves to lay low and live simply, so he had to help any way he could. Since it's just a quick trip, more of a pickup, Kodra dressed casually. He parked his car on the street and walked down the pathway Gloria had mentioned. He knows his way around this neighborhood, having visited Derek several times in the school district. The pathway was quite secluded, with only a few people passing by. He spotted a lady sitting on a street bench under a tree, the same place Gloria had said she'd be. Upon seeing Kodra, Gloria stood up to greet him. Welcome, sir. Good evening. You must be the lady I spoke with earlier, Kodra said in a flat tone. Yes, I'm Gloria. I'm sorry for making you come all this way, sir. But I really can't go far because my nieces and nephews have come to visit for the weekend, and I can't leave them alone for long, Gloria explained, sounding like a caring aunt. The keys? Kodra said, stretching out his hand to receive them, completely ignoring Gloria's explanation. Despite wanting to converse more with the handsome man, Gloria couldn't do much to stop him. After receiving the keys, Kodra started heading back since that was all he came for. As Kodra was walking back, he saw a young lady furiously walking towards him. He ignored it at first, but as he kept walking and she continued in his direction, he realized it was just the two of them on this path. It seemed like for some strange reason, he was the target of her rage. "Excuse me, sir," Ina called, standing in front of him. "What kind of person are you? Who exactly do you think you are?" Ina spat. Kodra was confused, but decided not to waste his time. He had never met this lady before, and she was clearly mistaking him for someone else. He has to leave before he loses his cool. When he moved to walk around her, Ina blocked his path again, feeling even angrier now. "You are such a coward. You couldn't approach me personally, and now, even as I'm standing right in front of you, you're trying to run away like the fool you are," she snapped. "Excuse me, young lady. Watch your tone when addressing me. Do you have any idea who I am?" Kodra warned, but Ina wasn't scared at all. Quite the contrary. She never expected him to admit to his plots. "I know you enough. You are a lunatic with a very dirty mind. You have nothing of importance to do other than roam the streets like the jobless fool you are," Ina said fearlessly. "Listen, girl, you do not want to mess with me. You have no idea what I'm capable of when pushed to my limits," Kodra warned again, and Ina giggled mockingly. "Oh, so now you're acting like you don't know me. But that's fine. I just want to let you know that you can stop wasting your time by relentlessly stalking me. I will never have any interest in someone like you. You're not my type, and please, stay away from the people I love, okay? I hope I have made myself clear enough. Now, if you will excuse me, I have better things to do than waste my time with the likes of you." Ina spat and walked away, leaving Kodra standing idly on the road. Kodra was raging mad. That was the first time anyone had dared to talk to him that way, and those insults were the kind that have never been directed at him before. He vowed to make her pay. He didn't care whether she mistook him for someone else or not. His ego had been bruised. He would make her crawl on her knees and beg him for mercy. It didn't take long for his sources to gather all the necessary information about her. And what a coincidence! The universe was handing her over to him on a silver platter. Kodra couldn't contain his anger. He didn't understand why she would insult him for no reason at all. But he wasn't interested in finding out the reasons. He just wanted to make her pay. Fortunately, some information came in so timely that he couldn't wait to use it against her. The very next morning, Ina was frantically searching for something all over the room. Last evening, after she came back, Lillian insisted that Ina should rest, saying she would prepare dinner herself. Ina, who was already exhausted, was more than willing to take up the offer, and she went directly to bed. She didn't wake up until this morning because she had to get ready for work. "Ina, what are you looking for?" Lillian asked as she woke up. "Oh, Lillian, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to wake you up, but I can't find my phone anywhere. Have you seen it?" Ina asked. "Isn't it that one on the table?" Lillian said, pointing at her phone lying on the table. "It isn't. This must belong to one of your friends," Ina said, picking up the phone and handing it over to Lillian. "Oh, this is Gloria's phone. She must have mixed them up and taken yours instead, Lillian guessed. I have so many missed calls from Jane, Lillian added after checking her own phone. Call her, Ina urged. Lillian called Jane, who confirmed the story. Jane said she had already left for work, but Gloria would bring Ina's phone much later. Ina was so disappointed, wondering why Jane didn't just carry her phone to work instead, since they work in the same department and she lives with Gloria. But there was nothing she could do. She was getting late for work, so she rushed out. She managed to catch the bus to the city, but still arrived a few minutes late. As Ina entered the building, she was taken aback by the way her colleagues looked at her. They even ignored her greetings, and the security man at the door, who was normally so cheerful, wasn't cheerful today. Jane too ignored her, and people whispered in harsh tones whenever they saw her. Ina wondered what was going on. Was it because she was a few minutes late? Ina walked to her workstation, hoping to ask her nearest colleague what was happening. Just then, Sophie, the secretary of their branch manager, came to inform her that the manager requested to see her immediately. That's when Ina knew something serious was going on. She followed Sophie to the manager's office, eager to find out what was happening. The manager, Mr. Drani, is a very nice man and quite fond of Ina. In fact, Ina is his favorite in the whole office. Despite having worked there for only a few months, she had managed to win his heart. Many others in the office harbored animosity toward Ina because of this. He is a middle-aged man who treats Ina like a daughter. So this is a very difficult moment for him. What is this, sir? Ina asked in disbelief as she went through some documents and papers that Mr. Drani had handed to her. You are being charged with fraud and embezzlement. There was so much evidence found at your workstation and on your computer. That man from our rival company also confessed, Mr. Drani explained, pointing to the photo of Ina handing over some documents to a man. There were a series of photos showing them meeting, her pulling out the documents, and even opening them, seemingly explaining something to the man. Ina didn't know what to say. She was so perplexed she couldn't voice anything. She has never been the type of person to speak up immediately when faced with the situation. She's just the kind of person who takes a while to process things, leave alone voice them. I believe there's more to this. I want to believe in you. And if it were up to me, I would love to hear your side of the story. But this is beyond me. I have to let you go, Mr. Drani explained. Ina knew what he meant. She desperately shook her head, hoping this was all just a prank. She couldn't lose this job. She needs it. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. The CEO himself called to make this order. In fact, he called in the middle of the night and asked that we have you arrested immediately after you set foot in the premises. But he called again this morning and said he would deal with you personally. The CEO? What does that mean? Ina asked desperately. Why would the CEO want to deal with this personally? I think he changed his mind because of the video, Mr. Drani added. Video? What video? She asked in confusion. Mr. Drani was confused for a while, thinking she must know about the video. But seeing her curious face, he realized she had no idea. Where's your phone? He asked. My phone? I don't know. I don't have it. What video, sir? She begged. Mr. Drani picked up his own phone, tapped on it for a while and handed it over to her. Ina couldn't believe what she was seeing. It was a video of her altercation with that man yesterday. What caught her attention was the description of the video. The video had millions of views and counting. Ina was now fighting to contain her tears. "This man, who is he?" she whispered. "He is Kodra Holker, the CEO of Holker Enterprises. My boss, Ina. Your boss," Mr. Drani said sadly. All strength left Ina's body. She felt all her dreams and plans drown right before her eyes. Her mind went blank. As I said earlier, I know there's a backstory to this whole thing, but I am under obligation to follow orders. "There's nothing much I can do, child," Mr. Drani sympathized. "All I can do for you now is advise you. Do whatever he asks of you. You do not want to offend that man any further. I've seen what he's capable of. In just these few months of working under him, there's a lot of difference between him and his father. Go to him and take any punishment he gives you. Maybe that will make things easier for you. I really hope he doesn't go on with his plans of having you arrested." Mr. Drani sympathized again. Ina just nodded and walked out in a daze. She finally understands why everyone was looking at her like she is the scum of the earth. She grabbed her bag from her station and walked out of the office. She had a lot of information to process. Ina went to a nearby park and slammed down on the bench. Her feet couldn't carry her anymore. She was so weak, both physically and mentally. How could all this happen to her overnight? She had now lost her job and managed to offend one of the most powerful young men in the city. Thinking about the video, Ina wondered how it got on social media. She didn't even understand how it was recorded in the first place. There was no one apart from her and that man. They were the only ones there. Even if there were passerbys, they couldn't have come close enough to record a video. The only people who knew about her being there were the people who took her there. She immediately knew she had been set up. It was hard to draw this conclusion since it meant she had been betrayed by the person she considered family. There is no way Lillian didn't know the real identity of the new CEO. The company had been led by its founder for years. His son, who had been abroad, took over about a year ago. It happened when Ina and the girls were still for their internship. Every staff member in all the branches were invited for the handover at some grand hotel. That day, Lillian and Jane desperately wanted to go, but it was after working hours, and they couldn't go unless they finished their assigned tasks of the day, since they were only interns and had to report to their superiors daily. They begged Ina to help them complete their work, and Ina agreed to help. She stayed at the office as the girls rushed home to get ready. Ina never cared to know what the new CEO looks like. She had seen a few photos of him dressed formally, but she never really bothered to analyze his face. It was of no major significance to her. She only reports to her team leaders and branch manager, Mr. Drani, so she didn't need to know those up in the hierarchy. But she knew that Lillian and Jane know who the CEO is very well. He was all they spoke of days after that handover party. She remembers how Lillian had begged not to be mentioned, and how she and Jane had fled the scene yesterday after showing her the said hooligan, and how her phone was suddenly exchanged with Gloria's. Thinking back to the pictures Mr. Drani had shown her, she remembered Lillian asking her to deliver her CV to an old friend. She even asked her to put in a good word for her. Ina, being the good friend she is, was willing to help Lillian get a job in any way. She was feeling sorry for her. Ina felt so stupid and foolish. She has always been a reserved person who prefers to mind her own business. The one time she decides to speak up and attack someone, she has landed herself in so much trouble, all while trying to protect her so-called friend. Ina sat in the park for hours. She wanted to just break down and cry her eyes out, but she was too weak to cry. Besides, crying wouldn't solve anything. She had been wronged greatly, but she had also wronged someone greatly, and she had to face the consequences of her actions. Mr. Drani had told her that the CEO is expecting her. She has to go there, even though she wishes she could just run in the opposite direction and forget everything. That isn't an option for her though. After a long moment of failed mental preparation, she decided to just relent and walk to her potential slaughterhouse.